Okay, so hello everyone. This is our first experience in delivering that kind of presentation, so don't judge too harsh. So yeah, I will jump straight to our presentation and start sharing my screen. But I would like to know if you see everything. Masha, is everything okay? Okay, so let's start. Let's start. So here am I, Irina, and here is Masha, and we are working on an interactive story which will teach young women in Kyrgyzstan and other developing countries to defend themselves against bride kidnapping. This is the first project of our own company, Scafander Games Studio, which we founded with Masha, and the game is to be launched in 2 weeks. So as soon as we thought, we don't have a lot of time, so this presentation shouldn't be like too huge, but we will try not to steal a lot of your time. So Masha.
So a few words about the actual thing, the bride kidnapping. It's a practice in the country of Kyrgyzstan. And Kyrgyzstan is quite poor, but surprisingly democratic country in Central Asia. It's quite secular, not too religious, but very conservative, especially in the rural areas. And they have this thing, Ira, don't forget to switch the slides. And they have this thing called alakachu, which basically means grab and run. People claim that it's a tradition, although the researchers say that it's not. But let's say it's a practice which is happening in the country quite widely. And it basically means that a guy can grab a girl in the street, take her home, and there will be his family already waiting with a fully covered, celebration table. And the girl is forced to be a bride. And after the ceremony happens, she is considered a wife of the man, and she's not supposed to leave. To make things worse, nobody usually interferes, including the girl's own family. They are usually encouraging her to stay for her own good, even if they're very sympathetic and even if they are sorry that this thing is happening. This is because of the social pressure. Like if the girl spends the night in the kidnapper's house, she's supposed to be not pure anymore, and she's she and her family are fearing that she will never get married and will never be happy in her future. So most of the girls choose to stay.
And this practice now is illegal for sure, and the penalties are between 7 and 10 years in prison. The problem is that neither parents nor the girls themselves address the police. So when we've learned all about all this situation from our Kyrgyz activist friends, we've decided that the fictional interactive story, like the story for young girls, might be a good tool to deliver some information for them, to talk to Kyrgyz girls about the issue of bride kidnapping, to give them some useful tools about how to defend themselves, and also to give those girls more like positive alternative behavior patterns. And here we come with the game. So we created Lastочки. Lastочки is the Russian version of the bird named swallow in English. So this is the symbol of the game, and this is Lastочки is the Unity-based platform for interactive stories for girls in Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Right now, the platform features only one story, Spring in Bishkek, which you see on the screens, and but more are to come. Masha.
So what we created is a fairly simple young adult romance with elements of investigation. You play for the girl on the left in the jeans shirt. She is the freshman of Bishkek Journalism School, and she has a best friend, Altanay, who is a girl from the countryside who moved to Bishkek to study. She's a girl from a poor and very traditional family, and she persuaded her parents to let her go to the capital to get a profession. So things are not going very well between the two friends recently because the main character is suspecting that Altenai is secretly dating the guy she has a crush on. And in the middle of all this, she gets a phone call from her friend one morning, and friend is saying that she's being taken away from the city by the guy she has never seen before, and she doesn't know who he is and where he's taking her. So from this point on, you have to basically decide what you're going to do. You first of all have to find out what's going on, who kidnapped her, who is involved, and who is behind all this. And then you have to investigate, and you have to decide what you're going to do. There are a few moral choices, like you can choose if you want to interfere or not, and you have to basically figure out what to do. It's not that obvious. You can talk to the girl's parents. You can find some friends who will help you. You can talk to your own parents. You can call the police. You can call to officials in the university. You can call the human rights defenders and basically try to save your friend.
Yes, and as you investigate what happened to Altenai and try to find out how to help her, you meet a lot of, you as a player, you meet a lot of people and have a lot of discussions about the issues connected with bride kidnapping and women kidnapping in Kyrgyzstan. But all these discussions are not the part of the main plot. And other parts of the main plot are not something that is happening within the story itself. You find this additional information within the notes. And the notes you can find within the special section of your application. So you can read the notes right as they appear or later, but the main point is that this notes can help you to earn swallows. Swallows is the inner currency of the game. It is pretty much like in those games when you choose your own adventure, romantic stories like choices, episodes, moments. Maybe you do know some of them. So the mechanics is almost the same, but instead of buying diamonds and stars and to spend them and to unlock premium plot twists, instead of buying, you have to read the educational content that is like built in the story itself.
The main line in the story, the kidnapping plot line, is we could not, be very creative with it, because basically this is the main educational line of the game, and it has been developed together with human rights lawyers in Kyrgyzstan, and we had to follow a very particular sequence of events which the character had to go through, because this is what the girls actually were supposed to memorize. And this is kind of tricky because basically what the human rights lawyers are telling you is that once you or someone around you is kidnapped, the first thing you have to do, and the only thing you have to do basically, is call the police. That's it. But of course, if our character calls the police, there is no story happening. So one thing we could do is we could allow her to a little bit hesitate before doing it, which is actually quite realistic because the girls normally hesitate a lot before addressing anyone, especially the police. So she's hesitating a bit, but then she has to follow the recommended procedure, which is not that exciting. So to make it more exciting, we had to add a lot of side lines. There is a lot of romance happening. There's a love triangle. There is this bitchy influencer girl who is making your life complicated. She's the antagonist, and she's trying to steal one of the guys you might be dating in the game. There is her slightly stupid, but eventually not so stupid game who will, in the end of the story, join the good forces.
Friend,
The what?
I said friend. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Then there is the come on, click. Okay, there is the sexy human rights lawyer who is flirting with you while trying to help you save your friend. There is your childhood crush, the wannabe rock star, whom you might also kind of relationship with whom you might also develop. There is the policeman with whom you will be arguing quite a lot, and there are like smaller gags, like you can talk to your old stuffed toy and the toy is quite cynical and is giving you quite stupid advice. And of course, we had to add this just because in most of the scenes, the girl is on her own, so she has to interact with someone. There are a few challenges which we were facing, which we wanted to share. And one of them is how realistic we could allow and we would want the game to be. The challenge here is that if you want the game to be really, really real, then it has to be a psychological horror game. Because the stories of the kidnapped girls are really gruesome and they seldom end happily. Like in most cases, they are pressured to staying with the kidnapper, and there's a lot of rape and a lot of violence, and usually there is a divorce in the end, and it's not going so well. And actually, there have been a few attempts to make the games about Alakachu in Kyrgyzstan, none of them successful, but all of them were in the kind of horror genre. We didn't want to do this for a few reasons. One is that we wanted the game to be empowering. And we learned from the girls themselves that the least thing they want is to be scared even more than they already are. So horror just was not our thing. We couldn't lie as well. We couldn't make it a rosy, happy ending story, Hollywood style, where everyone, is married and dancing happily in the end. So we had to find a balance in between. The balance which we found is that the scenes which are related to kidnapping and to the legal procedures around it are super realistic, like they're very documentary. With the rest, we just kind of made sure that it's kind of believable enough, but we didn't want to make it realistic. So in the end, we were creating a game which was about friendship, about love, about freedom, and about solidarity, and not about suffering. So in this sense, it's not as real as some might want it to be. We're also, whenever we were asking for advice from more experienced game writers, especially in the West, they were all pushing us to the horror genre. Because we assume this is what's interesting to anyone who is kind of listening to this from as an outsider. But we had to keep in mind that our audience is the girls who already know enough about how badly the situation is and who are interested in the solutions more than in the horror part.
Yeah, but that was not the only challenge we faced. One more challenge for us was to find the balance between educational and entertaining parts of the game, because you should understand who are the girls we are trying to get through. Those girls are neither gamers nor readers. So for most of them, maybe not for most of them, but for many of them, Last Key might be the first game they have ever launched, they have ever installed on their smartphones, because there are some mountain villages in Kyrgyzstan. So we needed to make this game really easy to digest, really simple understanding, and really entertaining. The problem of different educational games we have seen is that they are created for the person who is totally involved into the discussion of the issue, and he or she is very much inside of it, and he or she is very interested in the cause that the game is featuring. And we had no chance to do that. So we wanted the game to be played when the girl is bored, when she has some extra time, when she just want to have some fun, because that was the only way we could reach out for the wider audience. And one more challenge for us was honesty versus gentleness. So should we be honest or gentle? Masha have said a little about that already. So, but that is connected with the plot we've chosen. From the very start, initially, we wanted to make the kidnapped girl the protagonist. It would add a lot of drama, but as well much less fun to the game. So now you don't have really to get to the most traumatic moments. They are retold to you by your friend, so you don't play for the kidnapped girl. However, we try to do something unconventional. In chapter 6 out of 11, we switch the roles, and the player can play this specific chapter for the kidnapped girl. We did that this way because this chapter 6 has the turning point when the kidnapped girl has to decide whether she wants to stay with the kidnapper or leave. So we didn't want to steal this very relevant and expressive moment from the player.
And one more thing, which we're kind of were expecting, but didn't realize how strong it was, is the conservativeness of the girls. I mean, we of course realized that. I mean, the game is inspired by the young adult romance, which is so becoming crazily popular now in the Russian gaming market. And we of course realize that when we come to Central Asia, we can't go that level of, we can't show that level of sexuality and freedom. But I was honestly surprised, because when we were testing the first chapters with the target audience, we discovered that basically nothing bodily is allowed. And it was weird because the girls in Central Asia, they're not like, the girls in it's not Middle East. It's the society doesn't look conservative. They dress in pretty much European style. You get to see the same coffee shops in Bishkek as you would see in Moscow. But for example, there's a scene in the game where the beachy antagonist influencer is saying, "Oh, can I have your autograph? Yeah, I hope you don't mind that it would be on the napkin in which I just blew my nose." And when the girls got to this point, they were actually shocked with the reference to blowing someone's nose. So we had to change it to, "Oh, I hope you don't mind that I just wiped my shoes with it." And there were a lot of moments like this, which we didn't expect. And neither me nor Irina are from Central Asia. We traveled there a lot. We know the country quite well. We have a lot of consultants, but we're not Kyrgyz, and we thus had to test every bit of the storyline with target audience so that we would come up, we would have a chance to deal with these issues. And one more related thing is that the game, it's a feminist game, but it's not a game which most of our feminist friends would call feminist. Basically, the game has, the girls are fairly traditional in their points of view. They want to get married, they want children, they want families. There are no gay characters in the game. There's one character who has short haircut and blue hair, and this is as radical as we could go. So we had to slightly hush our own views about women's rights and what kind of is best for the girls, to create something which is, a middle way between what we believe in and what they are ready to accept, so that the game can really work for quite a wide audience in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, the game is to be launched in 2 weeks. We were planning to have launched it already, but because of coronavirus, there was some delay. So in 2 weeks, we are to see if all of this is going to really work or not. And now, if you have any questions, we have apparently a lot of time for it.